I'm George from NBA Hockey.
I'm Jack
Uh,
from Puck Analytics.
and I'm Jeff from NHL Analysis.
Yeah, you go third now because you got kicked off.
Oh,
Welcome back
all
to
right. Fair enough.
welcome back to Triple Shift. We decided to let Jeff back in. There was a lot of fan outrage that he wasn't here last week, so
Was there?
no,
Did people actually care?
not at all. So we're happy to have him back though. There's no Predators game today, so he didn't
There
have to
is.
go.
It's
Well,
on right now.
okay, fine, but you didn't go, so
Oh, I didn't. It's in Detroit.
there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously this is our final episode before the trade deadline, which is like the only thing we've talked about in the last like 4 episodes. So we'll continue that trend today. Don't you worry. I don't think we have any Buffalo news today though, so that's
Because
kind of
they've been winning
surprising.
games.
Yeah, they've actually been good. Like they've been.
They have
they're-
4 point
What is
streak.
the Triple Shift podcast without your daily or without
Buffalo.
your weekly Buffalo hate?
yeah, well, it's gonna be it's a
Eh,
new day.
eh.
Um, so I guess we could start with the I don't even know what adjective to use for it, but the Vancouver Canucks news. Basically, their entire team has COVID or is on the COVID protocol. I should say they don't necessarily have COVID, but they have one of the variants apparently, and a lot of the players have been actually showing symptoms, which is something we haven't really seen in the NHL during at least during the this season, and we don't really know what's going to happen with the Canucks. It's the second, I guess, outbreak if you count the. I think it was Puyarvi was put on COVID protocol because he didn't get a test back a while ago, but the second actual case of COVID after the Canadians. I guess first of all, like from an NHL perspective, what do we do with Vancouver for the rest of the season?
They're not even. They're not gonna make it playoffs. They're so far out, and they've been a terrible team. I just don't see why they should just cancel the rest of the season. Honestly,
Uh, yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I don't want them to cancel the season, but I think a solid maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks off in the North Division. Maybe they just shut down one of the divisions and have the rest of the teams play. 'Cause at this point, I mean, it's bad. Like it's just like every day there's more and more. I mean, as a as a guy who lives in Nashville, I think back to the Titans outbreak in the NFL where it was just like every day there was at least one person like being announced that they had COVID or somebody went into protocol or something like that. But like it's just getting constant and like it doesn't seem as if there's an end in sight. I mean, outside of maybe 2 weeks, that just all depends on who is on and off the protocol list in the upcoming days. So yeah, I mean, I don't think shutting down the North Division alone for a couple of weeks would be a bad plan. But then there's the whole are we going to reschedule all the games type stuff that the NHL has to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, and the good thing is that it didn't seem like this spread it to anybody else, and it doesn't seem connected to what happened with Montreal because I know Vancouver and Montreal played like the night before their outbreak, so it doesn't from what I've seen, it doesn't sound like those two events were linked at all, which is good. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, the Canucks aren't close to a playoff spot really. I think they are the fifth team right now, but really like the four teams in the playoffs right now are going to make the playoffs in the North
yeah.
Division regardless. Um, I just don't know. I mean, obviously the players there's been talk around the Canucks about being worried about coming back and playing, but it doesn't sound like this was an in-game thing. It sounds like it happened at a practice where somebody didn't get a test result back and they practiced anyway, and then everything just kind of fell apart, which is obviously a huge oversight by the NHL's COVID protocol. But I don't know. I mean, obviously there's pros and cons to playing the games out if they can. But the biggest thing at this point is they're not going to be able to reschedule like 3 weeks worth of games with the amount of season they have left. They had enough trouble doing that with like the 3 games the Canadians missed. There's no way the Canucks are going to play 56 games. Whether or not they play more than the 37 or 38 they're at now is up in the air. I think they probably do at some point just to get maybe even to 40. But this was definitely a problem that could have arose when the whole season kicked off, and obviously it's a problem that could happen in any of these leagues. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting what the NHL does with it.
Yeah, you were talking about like how the players might not want to come back and play. Like, I think they should put the players' safety and health before, especially with this different variant. You don't know how it could affect the players differently. It's a scary thing, and I don't think the NHL should force Vancouver to play any more games if the team isn't like mentally and just in health wise there to play, because it's going to be pointless. They're far out of the playoff spot, and like you guys said, the top 4 teams are locked. Just pointless to play.
Yeah, I mean, Alice was lucky because they had it before the season. I mean, sort of at the beginning of the season, but like they had started getting notified about COVID problems a little bit before, like a week before the season started, or probably a little bit before that. I can't really remember, but I mean, they had the benefit of missing only a few games because it was early enough. Right now, I mean, Canucks could easily miss, like you said, George. I mean, three weeks of games, and that's a lot. And unless the NHL is, well, I mean, there's multiple factors that go into it. I mean, whether the Canucks want to come back and play, and whether the NHL feels as if they can push back the finishing date of the regular season to reschedule some games, then I don't see the Canucks playing a full season whatsoever, which is then why, I mean, that's why points percentage is a thing.
See, that's the, like, so I was going to riff off the points percentage thing. Like, the NHL hasn't come out and said, like, hey, if we can't get to 56 games, we're going to do it by points percentage. They've never actually said that. People have just kind of assumed that will be what happens. But the NHL has always kind of kept this mindset of, hey, we're going to get to 56 games. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with it when it happens. And first of all, the NHL should have just done this entire season by points percentage. That should have just been the thing. And it wouldn't have mattered if everybody got to 56 games anyway. Points percentage would still be like just the regular points. But in that vein, like if the NHL really doesn't want to move to points percentage, maybe they just get everybody to 56 games by having, Montreal play Edmonton another 3 times or whatever, like whatever they decide to do, or maybe get them to 50 games or 45 or whatever the number is that they want, which sounds insane, but it's the NHL, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way they go instead of just conceding to the points percentage model. Would that even change the standings right now?
Probably not. I mean, I think they could do something where they have the top 5 teams in point percentage just play games, and they play out the rest of the season. Because I honestly don't see Vancouver making the playoffs, and we know Ottawa isn't. So maybe you just put Calgary there because I think they're ahead, and then maybe they sneak in. But the top 4 teams I think are locked. So
yeah, the gap right now. Montreal has a points percentage of 614. Then Vancouver's behind them, but if we're ruling out Vancouver's season, Calgary's points percentage is at 438. So,
wow.
Like, we're talking about a pretty drastic gap there between for like even the team that would be out. So and then the standings would be the same. It would be Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Montreal, which I believe is that's what it is anyway. So there really wouldn't be much of a change either way. So I don't think anybody would get too riled up at the moment. So the NHL could just come out and say, we're just going to play out the rest of the schedule in the Canadian division, and it'll just be points percentage. If you played Vancouver coming up, those games aren't going to count, which seems like a reasonable thing to do. But we're talking about the National Hockey League, so that they'll probably come up with this. They'll probably have Ottawa play Montreal for a play-in spot in the into the playoffs, and then Ottawa will win, and the city of Montreal will riot. That's the most likely scenario.
This Gary Bettman type thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Because we need the revenue. Everybody needs it. Technically, the Ottawa Senators are not eliminated from the playoffs, so they need a chance, which is what happened last year, the bubble. So,
gonna add that Montreal has 5 games in hand on Calgary too.
Yeah, so there's that too.
Yeah, Calgary's not gonna make it then.
Yeah,
I thought they were doing better than that.
Well, no, again though,
at least
they're
better than Vancouver.
They'll play a play
Sutter
against Toronto, and then they'll beat Toronto, and Toronto will get the first overall pick. That's how it's going to go.
No, Toronto's not lucky enough for that.
That's what's
they just wouldn't. I mean,
Sutter is the second coming of Christ. He's going to help the Calgary Flames beat the beat whoever they play in the play-in round because the NHL.
It's gonna
Because
happen
it's
though.
the
Like
NHL.
we're joking, but that's
Yeah.
100% gonna be what happens.
Yeah.
So I guess we can stick in somewhat in the Canadian division. And the Connor McDavid hit on Jesperi Kotkaniemi, which was like basically a week ago now. He got a $5,000 fine for that, and then like the next day, Nathan McKinnon decided to toss a helmet at I forget which Coyotes player it was.
Garland.
Garland, yeah,
Garland.
it was Garland. And he also got a fine for that. And then Chandler Stevenson, like 3 days later, had a hit to the head and got three games. So clearly, the Department of Player Safety has a very well structured system that is totally fair and doesn't favor star players whatsoever. What? How do we feel about? I mean, the Department of Player Safety is a mess. I don't think that's really a discussion. But what do we think about the McDavid hit? First of all, like if it was, do we think it was a suspendable play? I guess is the first.
Yes.
First thing.
Yeah. I think it should have been a game. I mean, it wasn't like it was pretty bad, but I don't see it being more than that. I mean, Stevenson got the same, but for 3, didn't make it. Just they need to stay more consistent within their rules. Like $5,000 is nothing. That's a shift for McDavid. He makes $152,000 a game. He does not care about $5,000.
Yeah,
it was for charity though, so that's okay.
I think it should have been suspended. I think McDavid should have been suspended, not just because the hit was bad, it was, but just because it sends a message. I mean, what does it say that arguably the top 2 players in the NHL are they? I mean, the McKinnon one was just kind of funny. I mean, I don't think he should have been suspended. Like, I mean, it was. No, it's a funny play where he just kind of tossed his helmet back to him and he got a fine for it. I would have taken that fine with honor if I was McKinnon, but I found that absolutely hilarious. I mean, what does it say that that the best player in the NHL? He lifts his elbow and hits Kotkaniemi pretty much in the head, and it's only a fine when there have been far less like severe hits have gone for 2 games, 3 games, or whatever the case may be. It just sends a message that if you're a star player, you get a lot of leeway, and if you're not, then screw you. We're gonna suspend you.
Yeah, I think 2 hypotheticals I want to throw out for the listeners are this, especially if you disagree with our stance here, is the first one. Well, let's say that was like some random third. Let's say that was like Dominic Cahoon that hit Kotkaniemi like that. He's 100% getting a suspension. There's no question. Like it's just some no name like middle 6 forward. That's a guaranteed suspension hit. And same thing if the roles were reversed. If it was Kotkaniemi that hit McDavid like that in the open ice, that was a headshot.
Well, yeah,
100%. That's a suspension. The NHL would be up in flames. But because it was McDavid doing it, the NHL needed to protect its star because that would have been McDavid's, I believe, 2nd suspension, and then all of a sudden he has this like big like X on his resume for some reason, and like the NHL has preached all this stuff about player safety and everything, but they've never shown it that it actually matters, and that's been something that people have ripped on them for years about, and the NHL really needs to decide whether it's like in the business of protecting its players or whether it's in the business of protecting its superstars. And at this point, it seems like it's the latter, but I don't know. I mean, I really don't think suspending McDavid for a game or 2 really would have hurt his legacy as much as people in the NHL seem to think. And it would have sent a message to players being like, hey, if Connor McDavid's going to get 2 games for that or a game for that, so will we. And like if they really want to cracked on headshots and concussions and everything like they say they do, that's got to be like it's got to be more than a $5,000 fine. Like I think I saw somewhere McDavid made like $2,000 on that play, based on how much he makes a shift. So it's kind of ridiculous.
And you don't get anywhere by suspending Tom Wilson for a bunch of games. I mean nobody cares.
Deserves it.
Yeah, he does for sure, but like
Yeah, nobody's gonna.
Why
Look
would
at that and be like,
anybody?
yeah.
Why would anybody feel threatened that a guy who has multiple suspensions is being suspended again? Why would that affect them at all? But if you suspend a guy like Connor McDavid, even if it's just for one game, and it really enforces the rule that, hey, we're not going to accept any headshots here. That's unacceptable. Let's stop because they're going to suspend me. Say you're Dominic Cahoon, for example, like you said. And if they suspend Connor McDavid for a hit like that, what does that say for a third-line guy? I mean, it says that you're probably going to get more harshly punished, so don't do that. I mean, it just sends a much harsher message than, yeah, we're just gonna find a guy that makes about the same money for on like 3 of his shifts. Like, no, hey, nobody's gonna care. Like, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that they should do in the like this would be my model and the NHL would never do this because again it's protecting their star league, but have like a baseline suspension for like a hit to that. I think players going into the NHL know, hey, if I hit a guy in the head, we're not supposed to do that. This isn't like Pee Wee hockey. So get rid of the fines entirely and be like, yeah, if first time offender, no matter who you are, it's like an automatic game. And then based on the severity of it, they can judge whether it should be 2 or 3 or whatever. And then there's like a system that moves you up the more you commit that specific act. So like if you slew-footed a guy a couple times and then you get your first headshot suspension, you don't get like 20 games for it automatically because you're like a repeat offender. It's a different tier, if that makes sense, like a different tier list. And that way it's like you're actually enforcing the rule and it doesn't really matter who the player is, especially on a first or second offense. The NHL would never do that because that makes too much sense, but that would be kind of the model I'd go with if I was Gary Bettman for a day.
Gary
Makes
Bettman
sense.
rather fix things
Go
that
ahead,
don't
Jack.
need to be fixed, like the
The
draft.
draft lottery.
Just rather fix that than fix something like player safety that should actually be fixed.
Yeah.
So my thing with that is it's a good idea. My question is what constitutes like obviously if it's a clear headshot then yeah, suspend them. But like what do you do if it's borderline? Like what constitutes borderline? Because last year, for example, the Preds were playing the Rangers, and Ellis, like it was super awkward, and Ellis kind of came in on the blue line, and he had his elbow out to kind of, I don't know what he was doing, but he was like pinching, and I think he was trying to poke the puck, or something, I don't even remember, but his elbow was out, and Buchnevich kind of ran into it. So, do you suspend Ellis for that, or do you? Because if it's, it was pretty borderline. It could have gone either way. They called a penalty on Ellis, so I guess my question would be, what do you do if it's borderline? Like, what constitutes a suspension and not a suspension if it's like a really close play?
If the NHL is really about player safety, I think you err on the side of player safety. And to be honest, Ellis missing 1 or 2 games in the regular season really isn't going to like make or break the Predators season in that example. So I think you have to, if player safety is the issue here and you want to limit headshots, you have to err on the side of player safety. And there's no way around, like whether or not it should have actually been a suspendable hit, it shouldn't be like a debatable thing in my opinion. I think you give them the game and you hope that players are going to be more aware of where they are on the ice.
Fair enough. I like that answer.
With that exact example, but it's not exactly like a intentional play. Like I'm sure Ellis wasn't going in there to body check him. Like you said, he was going to poke the puck. I don't know where they would define like the line for that because that's obviously not an intentional play. But
yeah,
I think
you get less games than a guy who would like charge across the ice. But I think you still give him a game and just say like, hey, make sure you're more aware of where you are.
Yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense because that won't hurt the Predators.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a game. If I don't know, but it still sends the message, right? It's not just a fine. It actually means something.
Exactly.
But anyway, speaking of the Nashville Predators, we could talk
segue
about the it's ready for the Zads, baby.
Yeah.
The Nashville Predators are suddenly looking like they're going to be playoff bound with their recent success, and it doesn't sound like David Poyle's too interested in selling anymore. So I guess we can start with whether or not that's a great idea.
Probably not a good idea. I think they have a few pieces that could get moved out right now, and they could get some draft pieces and maybe some few lower level prospects. I mean, if you're going to rebuild in the next few years, I don't think it makes sense to make kind of a playoff type push. I think it would just be better to tank and get higher picks and better draft placement.
Yeah, I mean, this team, I don't even know what's going on anymore, to be honest. They're so confusing. I mean, I don't even know how to describe them anymore. It's like a chaotic mess of people. I mean, they're obviously getting helped by their goaltending right now. Saros has been unreal, and Adam Vingan tweeted this out a while ago. They were at over their win streak, their 6-game win streak. They were at a expected goals for percentage of 48%, and then a goals for percentage of 63. The difference was massive. And I mean, obviously they're due to regress, and same with Saros. He's going to regress. He's not going to stay at a 960 save percentage for the next month and a half or however long it takes for the season to end. I mean, I don't think that right move is not selling. That's what I'm really worried about. One of the haven't really been optimistic. I mean, just because I know David Poyle, and I know he's going to want to buy just because he's David Poyle, and that's what he's been doing for the last few years because the team's been good. There are legitimate assets, that he can trade off for future. I mean, if he wants to retool, do that. That's what you should be doing. You don't need to go into a full rebuild just yet, but I mean, at least sell off a guy. I have been very adamant that Mikael Granlund does not belong on this team after the trade deadline. And it's not because I think Mikael Granlund's a bad player, but it's because he's a UFA, and we made a mistake last year not trading him at the deadline. I mean, you could get a solid pick for him and maybe a lower tier prospect. I mean, the best thing for this team, in my opinion, is not so much a on sell, rather just get rid of the guys that you like, the UFAs like Granlund, Howla. I mean, get rid of guys that are taking up roster spots for the younger guys. I mean, this team is clearly rejuvenated with youth. I mean, Eeli Tolvanen has been fantastic. He should be in the Calder conversation. No, he's not going to win because Kaprizov's been unreal, but he should at least be there. I mean, Jeremy Davies recorded his first point the other day, which I got to watch. It was awesome. He made a great play. I mean, Carrier, despite being hurt, he was playing really well. There's just a bunch of younger guys that are playing out of their just wonderful hockey. They're eventually going to get kicked off the roster because effective veteran guys are going to come back. And speaking about Matt Duchene, Ryan Ellis is obviously pretty effective. But yeah, I mean, that's where I stand. This team is just a mess. I don't even know what to think anymore.
Yeah, I completely disagree with you guys. I think the best course of action for the Predators is to go all in on Taylor Hall and then get body slammed by Tampa Bay in the first round. I think that's that's clearly the best course of action for them.
I think what would happen with Taylor Hall is they would trade away the first round pick to Buffalo and it'd become the first overall pick. Is just what would happen.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, no, that's that for sure. No,
Taylor Hall would go on to score 4 goals, and then he'd leave in free agency.
He'll go to the Senators in free agency. That's what will happen.
Do the Wayne Simmons. He'd score 1 goal and then leave after 20 games.
I just looked it up. According to Jay Fresh's goal saved above expected model, Juuso Saros went from completely off his board last week to the second best goalie in the league within the span of a week. So that it's like his weekly ranking. So he's not like the second best overall, but from April 1st to the 6th, he was the second best goalie in the NHL.
3.96 GSAX the other day.
Yeah.
In one game.
Yeah. So like I've been pretty adamant, especially on my power rankings, with people complaining that the Penguins aren't in it, with how I'm not going to overvalue a hot goaltender, and it's a very similar situation here in Nashville. Like clearly the roster isn't a playoff; it's a borderline playoff roster, and honestly, like my pick out of that division right now is Dallas to probably get in, and again limp their way in and then get body slammed by Tampa Bay in the first round, but. It really doesn't make a lot. Like I don't think you go out and you sell like Ekholm at this point. I think that's more of an off-season thing. But like move Granlund, move your RFAs. Like give the kid or move the UFAs. And give the kids a chance to play. I mean they've been really good lately. Let them see what they can do. And if they get you into the playoffs, great. Like that's more experience. And if they don't, then whatever. It's a deep draft and you'll get a decent draft pick. I think that's probably the safest move, and I think that's the smartest move at this point. And it's probably not the most likely, unfortunately.
They're definitely going to just trade for Taylor Hall, and they're going to miss the playoffs and get first overall pick. That's what's going to happen. I have no doubt in my mind that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, what you just explained, like the young guys getting roster spots after selling off a Mikael Granlund, Brad Richardson, who has been absolutely non-existent this year because he's been hurt. Like, it was literally like just a waste of a signing. Like he was preventing a guy like Yakov Trenin or Matthew Olivier from getting a consistent roster spot. And that line with Colton Sissons, those two guys with Colton Sissons have been one of the best, like arguably the best line on the Predators over this stretch. Like, it's just a useless veteran signings. Like Poyle is like trying to deny the inevitable. It's just so frustrating. Like, you want to trade those guys. If you want to trade like the veteran guys with expiring contracts and bring up young guys and give them roster spots and then they make the playoffs, that is fine by me. I'm 100% okay with the young guys getting like stomped in the first round by Tampa if that means that they get experience. I won't accept David Poyle buying or being stagnant at the deadline just because he wants to keep these veteran guys for God knows what reason.
Yeah, I think probably the best like parallel that I can pull up like just on the spot, and obviously this wasn't like planned because the new playoff format happened, but it basically kind of be what Montreal did at the deadline last year, where they just kind of sold off all their expiring deals, got some picks back. And obviously the 2014 playoff got them into the playoffs, but then they beat Pittsburgh in not the first round, whatever, the play-in round. And, you know, they let their kids just kind of play. I mean, guys like Alex Belzile were playing like basically the entire playoffs. And like it gives those guys experience. It keeps them in the playoff hunt. Like don't sell off everybody, but you know, get those guys playing big minutes, fighting for a playoff spot. Like that's really good experience, and there really isn't a lot of pressure because nobody expects Nashville to do anything if they get it anyway. So I don't see a really downside there. Again, I don't think it's the most likely situation, unfortunately, but it's probably the smartest for the Predators. I guess we can jump to the other thing that came up as Greg Wyshynski, who I consider a fan of the show, but he doesn't know we exist. Put out his ESPN I guess player voted player coach management whatever voted lists for all the top players, and we can kind of touch on them quickly here. I guess I can just rifle through them. The winger list was Pasternak, Kucherov, Panarin, Ovi, Kane, Stone, Marchand, Marner, Rantanen, and Svechnikov was the winger list.
It didn't end bad, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Svechnikov made the list. To be honest,
Rantanen too.
Yeah, Rantanen was kind of surprised.
Good for them really on that aspect.
Yeah, I mean Mark Stone was on there, so a lot of people don't think Stone's very good. So that's
if you take out Ovechkin and Kane, then that's actually not a bad list.
Yeah.
But of
Matthew
course, you have to
Tkachuk
have them in
was-
the top 5.
just missed it. Taylor
Did you
Hall
say
just
no
missed it.
Patrick Kane? Kidding me? Wow, Alex Ovechkin's the greatest scorer of all time, bro.
You're gonna get all the edit pages mad at us now, Jeff.
Honestly, I'm very shocked that Kyle Connor wasn't on this list.
Yeah.
I feel like people are catching on to how he's overrated.
He was on the honorable mentions.
I don't know why.
But I'm
Oh,
really
of
glad he
course.
wasn't on.
He
here.
shouldn't even be top like 25.
It's not a terrible.
be
I don't know if
argued.
I agree with Pasternak at number 1.
That's actually not bad. There's
It's
an
not
argument
terrible.
for that
Yeah.
using analytics. You can argue that
The top 3 are fine though, like Pasternak, Kucherov, and
Kucherov should be top 3 in my opinion. But, yeah.
Marchand was a little low, but nobody likes Marchand, so I get it. That's the thing a lot of people miss out on these lists is, if players don't like a guy, they're not going to rank him very high. Obviously guys like Ovechkin are really highly respected in the NHL, and rightfully so. I mean, he's probably the greatest goal scorer of all time, and he's gonna get votes for that. That's just how it is. And nobody likes Brad Marchand, so the fact that he was even 7th kind of surprises me.
I love Brad Marchand.
Yeah, I mean, he's besides his like anti-analytics rants, which is funny because the analytics community loves him, but
Yeah.
still, like,
It wasn't
I
even
understand
like
why.
they weren't even analytics. It was like forecheck recoveries,
Yeah.
puck recoveries, like micro stats, like stuff you can like track with your eyes. Like it's not even.
Brad, you
Wasn't
do
like-
that in the game. Like what?
Yeah, I know. It wasn't like goals above replacement where it's like a massive like ridge regression formula. It was literally stuff that you can count.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Brad
he has
literally
one
does
puck
that in the
recovery.
game.
I know that's his job.
Why his job is to do that, and he gets mad about it.
I feel like he's one of those guys that just likes to like piss people off on social media, though. Like I think
He does.
Like he just
He
loves
is that guy.
And it's
He's that
great.
guy on and off the ice. I guarantee it.
Oh, he's great. Like it's
That's
fantastic.
just who he is.
The center list was interesting too. It was McDavid, McKinnon, Austin Matthews at 3, Crosby at 4, Draisaitl at 5, Jack Eichel at 6,
Nope.
Bergeron, Barkov, Point, and Matthew Barzal was 10th. Ryan
It's
O'Reilly
actually
just
not-
missed. Elias Pettersson just missed.
PD should be
Kopitar,
there.
Scheifele.
It's actually not that bad.
It's not terrible. I don't.
Matthews shouldn't be 3. Draisaitl is better than Matthews.
How do we feel about? I feel like the biggest debate on this was where Crosby is ranked. There's a community that thought he got the respect being 4th, and there's a lot of people that thought he should have been 5th behind Draisaitl, and some people thought he should have been 3rd. So
There's an
honest,
argument. There's an
I still think
argument.
he's 3rd.
I'd probably still have him 3rd. Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Just until this season ends, because I don't know.
Leon
Oh,
Draisaitl.
I mean, he could go on an absolute tear. He's Sidney fucking Crosby, but I mean, who knows? At the end of the season, I could have Matthews. I could have him 5th. Like him anywhere
I could
from
have him
3 to
8th.
5, I think would be like is reasonable.
Yeah, I don't.
mean, he's
I don't
still
mind that
really
3 to
good.
5.
You could have him 8, I think.
Who Matthews?
If you
Yeesh.
If you want to go for some hot takes, I think you could go like McDavid, Matthews, McKinnon, Draisaitl,
Oof.
Point, Pedersen, all better. You could argue that. I think you could
If
easily.
you want to
argue
be
that.
crucified,
Well,
I don't think the gap is that big between those guys.
oh no, the top
I
5
can-
is
the
pretty
top
close.
8 centers are all
The top 8
extremely
are close.
close.
I agree.
They're like
One
tier
confusing
1.
one is like that felt like really recency bias was Barzal. He's
Yeah.
so good. He's a great skater and he's a great like puck controller. He's not top 10.
He's not top. I
He's
don't think.
probably
not better-
top 15.
I really don't think Barkov.
Oh yeah, I think he's top 13.
Barkov's
think
so
he's top-
overrated.
Barkov's not. He's having a great year though this year. Like let's be honest.
He-
Barkov
yeah,
is so
he
good.
bounced back
He's
so
so
much.
fun to watch, man.
But if
He
this
had,
is
like-
just like obviously this is completely recency bias. I feel in this list.
100%.
Why
then
is
you have
Eichel
Jack
there,
Eichel
then?
6th? Like
Yeah, he's been hurt. Like, why is Eichel there?
I don't know. I mean, I really
Because
don't
he's
know
on
what
Buffalo
this
and he
is,
doesn't have good teammates.
That's
Yeah,
the argument over
basically.
Matthews.
But Taylor Hall was like 13th on the winger list, so you know.
Makes sense.
I'm also gonna say this. I forgot to mention this, but whole like you said this, George. It was about players not liking certain guys or like their biases. This is why you can never use a player's ranking. Like the Athletic came out with players polls. They do. I think they do it every summer.
Oh, I love the
every
facts.
offseason.
They're so interesting. But
Yes, they really are.
They mean
But-
nothing.
But The problem is people use those as arguments as to why Kyle Connor is good or
Yeah,
Marc-Andre Fleury before this season was the best, like a top 5 goaltender. Like, there are clear biases. I've said this in arguments all the time on Instagram. You'll see me roaming around comment sections. But, like, it is ridiculous how many people use those as arguments to support why a certain player should be where he is. Do the players, a player's opinions matter? If they're, especially this year, if they're secluded in like one division playing against certain guys, yeah, I think Logan Couture is probably going to have a higher opinion on Drew Doughty than he is on Dougie Hamilton because he didn't see him all year. Like, I mean, it's just, it's natural. Like, it's not anything I can blame them for. It's just, if you see these guys more and you play them more, you're going to know more about them and have certain biases towards them and have certain biases against other guys. Like, that's why player polls are super flawed in terms of like, this player is good because the player said he is. Like, that's just a stupid argument, and it's an argument it's an argument from authority, but
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's an argument that I can't stand personally. It's just so annoying.
Two things I want to point out with these articles. The first one is the sample size, which nobody seems to care about when these things come out, because if they back up their opinion, it doesn't matter. But Greg Wyshynski, bless his heart, surveyed 7 skaters, 3 goalies, and 10 NHL executives for the survey, which
I brought Jim Benning in there.
which is 20 people in the NHL, and people are going to look at these as accurate representations of what players think.
I just
to give Greg credit, though, he did reference both Natural Stat Trick and Evolving Hockey in this article. So
that's nice.
good. For
I like Greg for that. Good old Greg.
Greg's great. Like, he's a genuinely good writer, like in mainstream hockey.
Can't read his stuff because I don't have ESPN Plus.
I don't understand why people refer to lists as an argument. Like, draw your own conclusions. It's so annoying. Like, oh, this person ranked whoever here. Craig Button had him wherever. It's just like, who cares? Draw your own conclusions. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's
Craig Button had David Ferrante over Philip Tomasino, so I don't really care what he has to say.
Yeah, Quentin Byfield was like not even in the top 10 based on the guys.
Wasn't that list fake?
That was not.
It? I don't know. I would be
I
surprised.
think it was, but like,
it would have to be a joke.
genuinely,
list or
I
something.
wouldn't put it past Craig Button to have that like exact list.
But Byfield at like 19, that was terrible.
Yeah, if
He had,
that
like-
was real, I don't know. Maybe
he
he
had,
had
like,
April
least-
Fools. I don't even know.
He had 8 people over Byfield in his own class.
Yeah,
When Byfield was probably the second best player in that class.
That was real. Holy God, that's bad. But if it's fake, then
whatever.
you got
yeah,
me.
You got
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
us. You got us there.
The defensive list from this poll, number 1 Victor Hedman, no real surprise. 2 Cale Makar, 3
Nope.
was Roman
Nope.
Yossi.
Already bad.
Petra was 4. Miro Heiskanen was 5.
Yep. Nope. He's not even top 60.
Fan of the show, Seth Jones was 6th.
Nope. not
Jacob
top
Slavin
60.
7. John Carlson 8. Shea Theodore 9, and Ivan Provorov was 10.
Whoa.
And a bunch of honorable
Heiskanen-
mentions.
Heskinen's pretty bad. So is Seth Jones. Provorov's pretty bad as well.
Yeah.
But other than
besides
that,
those
it's not
three,
terrible.
It's not that bad.
Cale Makar 2 is pretty bad in my opinion.
I disagree. I think Cale
I
Makar is
just-
probably in the top 3 or 4 at the
I,
lowest at this point.
I heavily disagree.
Cale Makar didn't get hurt. I'd agree with you.
My question is, where the hell's Charlie McAvoy?
Yeah.
He's
Where's
the
Adam
second
Fox?
best
Adam Fox is,
defenseman in
like,
the
a point a game
NHL.
right now.
Adam Fox is overrated now.
Kind of.
Like,
100%.
Yeah, which is
Adam
He's
Fox
like-
is so good, but he is so overrated
Like
now.
people
which is
think he's like
hilarious.
people think he's the best defenseman in the NHL right now.
It's
which
hilarious
I
because
completely disagree with.
we were adamant that Adam Fox should have won the Calder
Exactly.
because
It's so
of his
funny. I love it.
because of his point totals. People were like, "No, you're crazy." We got yelled at constantly, and now all of a sudden, the same people that were yelling at us are saying that he's a top 5 defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah, it's crazy what actually putting up like secondary assists will do to a player. I don't know if
No.
Fox has a bunch of secondary assists, but just in general, same thing with Drew Doughty. I'm surprised Drew Doughty wasn't on this list, actually. That really
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
about to
I was
say,
gonna mention that.
Drew-
was he even one of the honorable mentions? He had to have been, right?
I got destroyed in my comment section the other a few weeks ago because I said Drew Doughty was bad, and
Oh,
people went
dude, yeah,
off.
I was getting destroyed today. Or not
Yeah,
destroyed.
Quinn.
There's just people
It was
like
Quinn Hughes
responding
was
to me.
11, and then Doughty and Klinberg were 12 and 13.
Oh my god, dude! What is this obsession with Drew Doughty?
Dougie Hamilton 14.
It's serious.
That's cool.
Oh
There you
yeah,
go.
arguably top 5 defense in 14th. Big W.
I'm gonna be real here.
Where's Charlie
I
McAvoy?
appreciate the John Klingberg love.
I love John Klingberg.
I don't.
He is a fun defenseman to watch,
McAvoy and
man.
Riley
I have to
didn't get enough votes for in the top 10.
How did McAvoy not get it? Like what?
He would have been like 17th on this list.
That's so confusing. I don't.
Crazy
people,
that
man.
Seth Jones isn't even like the talk right now. Like what we're discussing right now is Charlie McAvoy not being on there and Seth Jones being like what, 5th?
6th.
6. Yeah.
Sixth.
That's insane.
Like
That's insane.
That's just bad. Him at
that's
6
how bad it is. Like
pretty
Seth
bad.
Jones, we're all analytics users and we all complain about Seth Jones placements, but this time like the list is so bad that we're not even complaining about it.
But here's the thing about Seth Jones, right? Like, and I talked about this like before we recorded. No player is actively like spending their free time watching the Blue Jackets, so they just hear about this guy who plays like 90 minutes a night, and they're like, "Holy crap, he must be really good," because like we all know our coaches who play us a bunch of minutes, or they're smart because I'm on the ice, and they just kind of roll with that. Like, so I don't blame them for that, but it's not a good source. Like, this is an accurate source for who's, and again, it's 10 NHL players. Like, that means
It's
nothing.
also, I mean, it's also because we're just so used to having to hear about Seth Jones being like the top 5 defenseman conversation that we're just kind of like numb to it
it's
now.
like, yeah, he's just gonna
Yeah, I mean,
I guess we can move on to the goalie list, which is the final one.
Oh
And this
no,
one was
I don't
fun.
even want to hear it.
Andre Vasilevskiy was one, which is this like the 1 year actually like,
This
we're
season,
okay with
yeah,
that.
that's fair.
But
ranking goalies is stupid anyway.
he's been
If it just ranked on this season, I think we can. It's
Yeah.
better, but
Connor Hellebuck was 2, which I'm fine with.
that's good.
Carey
That's
Price noted 3rd best
Yeah.
goal in the NHL.
Okay.
Which
Don't
is
think we
great.
should discuss this.
John Gibson was 4th though. So I mean,
I like that respect.
the only problem is
That's-
John Gibson sucks now, so like
Yeah.
they're like 2 years too late. Tuukka Rask was 5. Markstrom was 6th, which is wild. Carter Hart was
He's
7th.
so overrated.
Leonard was 8th. Darcy Kemper 9, and Marc-Andre Fleury 10.
Yeah, some of the right guys.
It's not bad.
To be fair,
It's not the
Markstrom's
worst
so
list I've seen.
overrated.
this is completely off topic, but I'd just like to say the Sabres are about to win another game.
6-game point streak right now.
Westminster is still the 4-game point streak.
For what it matters,
think
the
they've
3
won 2 in a row
goalies on
already.
this list ranked Carey Price 3rd overall. That were
Oh my
surveyed.
god.
So
That's just terrible.
Are they? I mean, this is like a
Anderson is
genuine
6th.
question. Do they pay attention? Like seriously?
No, they don't care.
Have they not watched Carey Price at all?
No, nobody.
He has
Here's
not
the
been
thing.
good.
Like, what goalie is watching film on another goalie?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
like literally, like that's the worst person you can ask. Like, they don't watch a single clip from another goal. I guarantee you, that's insane. But people are like, "Oh, they play the position. They know." It's like they don't care. Like,
Yeah, they probably don't care.
They don't
I'm
give a
sure
shit.
Vasilevskiy doesn't care how Carey Price is playing.
no, he's watching clips on where Ovechkin's gonna shoot. He doesn't care about
Yeah.
what Carey Price does. Like,
I mean, they don't play each other, so like,
Yeah.
why would they? Why would they need to care?
it's
Yeah.
such a terrible argument. It's funny though.
Yeah,
But again, really
it's
interesting.
it's mind-boggling.
But that's the thing. Like, why would you ever? Yeah, like you're never gonna play against them. Like you play against them, but like you're not worried about what they're doing because you just don't care what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
it doesn't
affect
matter.
you at all. Yeah.
So stupid.
I guess we can move to our game for the week, and we're mixing it up here. We're gonna do a draft type thing, so we're all gonna be participating, and basically how this is gonna work is we're gonna draft a lineup. So 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. It doesn't matter if you had a center or not. Just need 3 forwards. And then we're gonna post our teams on our Instagram at Triple Shift. I think it's Triple Shift Pod. And you guys are going to vote on the story for which team is better, and then whoever wins that is who wins the game this week. This is something we'll probably do a little bit just to mix it up because the quizzes can get kind of repetitive, and we all aren't creative, so we can't come up with ideas. So yeah, this would be kind of fun. Hopefully that makes sense. Do you guys have any questions, I guess?
No.
Once somebody's taken, obviously they can't be taken again. The topic for this quiz, or for this draft, is going to be players that were traded at the trade deadline over the last 4 seasons. So from 2016-17 until 19-20. So any guys who were traded on the actual day of trade deadline, we can pick from, and once somebody's taken, they can't be taken again, as drafts usually work. We predetermined the order beforehand, so Jack's going to get the first overall pick, and then I'll go, and then Jeff's going to go, and then for the second round it'll be Jeff, and then me, and then Jack, so on and so forth. So it's like a snake draft. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, last 4 years of trade deadline. We'll say what year the player was traded into. And yeah, I think it clears it up. Keep track of your own roster so you don't take like 7 forwards. I guess.
It happened with a redraft a little bit ago.
Yeah.
And or more than a little bit ago. It was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I don't know how many guys
For an
remember
Instagram
that,
post.
Yeah.
Drafted like
It was
some
like the
guy
best team of
drafted. I
all
think it was.
time or something. I don't know.
It was
We were
like
all
the
in that,
best
though, I
teams.
think.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
I don't remember that very much, but yeah.
Well, that was like 3 account names ago for you. So
I
I
mean,
do
facts.
just because it was like a bunch. Like it was just chaos. Like
Who
it wasn't even.
There's like a few other people we
Yeah,
know.
there's like
I
3 of us
don't
as
even know
well.
half of them. Yeah, Ben was in there.
All right. Anyway, you have the first pick, Jack. So take who you want. And we'll go.
I'll take Mr. Better than Patrick Kane. Mark Stone.
Mark Stone. All right. Mark Stone off the list. Jeff is supposed to be keeping track of all this, and I'll cross them off.
I got you.
So there you go. Mark Stone, first overall pick. I'm gonna go with like the one good goaltender on this list. I'm gonna take Robin Lehner. Because literally all the other goalies are like backups or worse. So
It's okay.
I'll get the distinct
Don't need
advantage in
goaltender.
that. You don't. That's
You
true.
stole
The
my
Toronto Maple
pick.
Leafs have proven that. You do not need a goaltender to win the NHL.
Just need him to play average.
It's fact. Exactly.
Oh well, you stole my pick.
Of course I did. Those are going to be the top
Yeah.
2, like 100%.
Yeah. So I guess with my first pick, I'll take Michael Hutchinson just for the memes.
Michael Hutchinson. All right.
What?
I mean,
So it's back over to you anyway.
Hutchinson. Yeah. See, that's why I
It's a great
picked
pick.
a goalie. With my next one, I'll take. I'll take Jerome McGinley.
Jerome McGinley. All right.
Interesting pick.
So when he was traded to the what team was that? When he was traded to LA, I think, 16-17, or was that? Yeah, it was Colorado to LA, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, noted LA King, Jerome McGinley. I think he wore like number
Noted.
47
He
or
played in
something. It was weird.
everywhere.
Yeah. It was a weird time.
Got.
So I guess it's me again, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna take Ryan McDonough when he was traded to the Lightning, I believe, that year. Yeah, I think so. Ryan McDonough. Anyway, he'll be my first defenseman.
I will take JT Miller.
Noted Canuck. And it's Jack again, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's you again.
I will take Ian Cole then.
Ian Cole. Noted. Who does he even play for now?
Minnesota.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
he was traded for Pattern. I should know that.
Oh yeah,
Gotta love
Greg.
Greg. Greg.
All right, back
Days
over to
will
me.
love that.
Yeah.
I'll grab my first forward. I'll take Thomas Tatar when he was traded. And that notable Vegas gave up a first, second, and a third for him, and he sucked.
Go. That's how you do it, baby.
That's Vegas, baby.
Yeah. Let's see. I think Kevin Fiala.
All right.
And he's gonna like that one. It's his favorite player. See. See, I'll take
a tough one. I guess I'll take
Brandstrom.
Brandstrom, all right. Emil Brandstrom, he was involved in that Mark Stone trade.
Yeah.
So there you go. 2 for 1. Oh, I just about deleted the entire list. That would have been bad. All right. I'm going to get a center for my line. I'm going to take Paul Stasny from your Winnipeg Jets.
Underrated.
No.
Paul Stastny's really good, eh?
He actually is good.
He's really
Probably
good.
good second line.
Yeah,
center.
I hate it because he killed the Preds in the second round of the 2018 Cup playoffs.
Yeah. No, yeah, like Paul Stasny, like that was a really the Jets traded like a 5th round pick for him too to get him back.
It's a
From Nashville. That was
really
insane.
solid second line center.
Oh yeah, like that's great.
Yeah. My pick now, right?
Yeah, you get 2.
I'll take Ryan Graves, and then I'll take Trocheck.
All right, Jeff. Just give us a rundown on our teams here for the fans.
All right. So George has Robin Leonard, Ryan McDonough, Tomas Tatar, and Paul Stastny. It is his pick. Jack has Mark Stone, JT Miller, Ian Cole, Ryan Graves, and Vincent Trocheck. And I have Michael Hutchinson, Jerome McGinley, Kevin Fiala, and Eric Brandstrom.
All right, I'm gonna round up my defensive core here with now superstar Mike Riley from the Ottawa Senators.
Still my pick again, dude. Jeez. Riley. All right. Pick again, right? All right.
Yep.
Let's see.
I guess to finish out my D core, I'll take Nathan Bullier.
Really thinning the pack out here. That's been a lot of good defensive. There really hasn't been a lot of
Yeah,
good players
no.
traded at the deadline in the last 4 years.
I know it's
That's surprising.
about it, man.
My forward core is pretty good, I think.
Yeah. It's your last pick.
Louis Dominique.
Oh, okay, well it doesn't
Hey,
matter.
I
You need a
still
goal
got
anyway. It
pick.
doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Okay, yeah, that's
So,
fair. Louis Domingue.
All right, and I'm gonna pick
Andrew Kane.
Evander Kane.
It's your
That was
turn,
the
George.
Buffalo to San Jose trade, I believe.
Yeah.
All right. I could go the smart route here and take somebody like Granlund or Nyquist or Maroon.
No.
But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to take
I know who you're going to take. Yeah.
the best player of all time in NHL history.
Thomas Vanek.
Thomas Vanek.
Yeah. I knew it.
That'll round up my team. So
Right.
Jeff, let the fans know who everybody's got, and then again vote on our story. The thing will be posted. The episode comes out Wednesday morning. I'll post a poll like Thursday, I guess, just so everybody has a chance to listen to the episode. So Thursday, watch for the poll, and you guys can vote on your favorite team or just whoever your favorite podcaster is. Don't even worry about the team. Just vote for me.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
Mark
guys,
Stein.
I know you
Good
missed
idea.
me, so
All right, give us the
Okay,
team.
so right. So George has in goal Robin Leonard. On defense, he's got Ryan McDonough and Mike Riley. And then for his forwards, he's got Tomas Tatar, Paul Stastny, and Thomas Vanek. Jack in goal has Louis Domingue. On defense, he has Ian Cole and Ryan Graves. Then at forward, he's got Mark Stone, JT Miller, and Vincent Trocheck. And then I have Michael Hutchinson in goal, an elite playoff performer. On defense, I've got Eric Brandstrom and Nathan Beaulieu. And then at forward, I've got Jerome McGinley, Kevin Fiala, and Evander Kane.
All right, so there you go. I guess that's it. So,
Yeah.
guys, where can they find you?
Jeff, you want to go?
Yeah, I thought I was going third just because I was banished.
No.
No.
I'll let you plug your stuff. We'll let you.
So yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram at NHL_analysis_. I've got a Substack where you can find some of my stuff. I write for Last Word on Sports and the Hockey Writers. And there's links in my link tree in my Instagram bio where you can find me there.
Well, short like always. My name's Jack, and you guys can find me at Puck Analytics on Instagram.
And you guys can find me at NBA Hockey on Instagram and Nothing But Iron 1 on Twitter. I got to change that back, but I don't know why I got changed.
Sounds like a generated Xbox name.
Yeah. I've been using Twitter a lot more. I've been really enjoying Twitter.
Yeah, I know. Your stuff has been popping up
So
in my feed.
Go follow me there. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Again, go follow the podcast Instagram at Triple Shift Pod. We're gonna be posting more stuff there as well. So hopefully you guys like that and check it out. And again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.